Gamers, welcome back. Today we're going to review The Evil Within. The Evil Within is an atmospheric survival horror game that has some gore-filled and disturbing moments and nostalgic feel of the old-school horror genre. With the game technical problems aside, which includes a 30 FPS cap, which can be uncapped to 60, a letterbox view that takes up about 30% of the screen combined, which also could be changed via the commands in the console, and also it should have been a choice in the option menu, like film grade, instead of something players are forced to type in every time they start the game up. The game quite plainly made some really poor decisions and implementation choices on its PC port. All that aside, the game itself is another story, and that's what this review is about, the game. So hopefully Bethesda will have the heart to put out those patches for this game to please those who thumbed it down over the technical issue, which is clearly the case. The game starts off with Sebastian Castellanos, who is on his way to investigate a mass murder at the hospital with his partners Julie and Kidman. Upon arrival is a man sitting on the floor spouting, "It's impossible," when suddenly a hooded figure attacks Sebastian and he finds himself upside down to see a man carving humans up like a pig at a shop, and thus begins the game's story. Now literally, the game story is pretty insane. There will be a moment where the mind is in a state of chaos. Is this game about a supernatural horror? Some kind of new virus? Is it psychological? WTF is going on? The main character himself will be confused, but as time comes along, putting together the text newspaper clues found throughout the game and going on with the story progression is when the pieces start falling together for the story, which turns out to be quite decent. The game graphics are quite good and surprisingly atmospheric. The fogs, the lighting, the fire, the way the aesthetic is shown across the map, the blowing curtains, and the drapes, the littered corpses all over the place, the crumbling buildings, are just some example of what makes this game so immersive. Now most of the maps in this game are corridor-like maps, or maps that split off in a certain direction, but all lead to the same place, or they can be arena-sized. But the main thing is that unlike other horror games where you can revisit areas repeatedly, this game is straightforward, so make sure you search the area thoroughly before progressing. Players can choose to divert their attention to search for keys or map pieces. There are times when the graphics get a bit muddy in this game, or doesn't make sense, for example like the wine bottle being tossed at players or zombies that looked a bit muddy, like strawberry jam on them, but aside from that, everything else looks great. The voice acting in this game is decent. Though some are not as impressive as the other, they are however passable. The sound heard from the weapons, monsters, and the aesthetic itself are really nicely done, and majority of the time there isn't much music in the game, but that's the beauty of it. The silence is what makes this game scary, when players aren't sure what exactly to expect or what is going on. The gameplay of the game plays much like Resident Evil 4. Of course, it's made by the same guy who created the game. There is a stealth gameplay mechanic that allows players to kill the enemy quietly or with guns to damage their body parts such as the head to take them down, stomping on them and using matches to prevent them from getting back up. Matches can also prevent future corpses from rising. There are also melee weapons in the game, but they are one-time use items such as the torture axe, and after use they break in your hand, so there is a durability to them. Though it is a shame that you cannot drag bodies into the fires that are all over the place itself. The game AI is pretty stupid at times, and act much like a Resident Evil zombie if anything, but can also be argued that it's because they're not human anymore. Overall, they function well when they are working together to kill players. The bigger enemies will also have no mercy. The boss fight in this game are hard and will require players to conserve ammo to fight against. Running is an option, but there are times when that option is completely out of the question. The puzzle in this game is subpar at best, and isn't something to make people think too hard on. The weapons in this game included are pistol, shotgun, sniper rifle, grenade, magnum, and of course the Agni Bow, which uses a different variety of arrows such as poison, ice, explosive fire, etc., and can be used as traps. There is a total of 7 for this all-in-one crossbow weapon. Now throughout the game, players will encounter traps that can be dismantled by either holding space or timing a needle to hit a green mark to get the material and create an Agni Bow ammunition. Now after completing the game, players will also get a rocket launcher and a machine gun. Also, as for the light source in the game, Sebastian doesn't really use any flashlight of any sort. He uses a lantern, which adds to the immersion of the game. So throughout the game, there's only a lantern on him in the game. In the beginning, when the players are weak and have no ammo, there isn't many choices except to stealth, hide, and distract enemies, or kill them in one shot using torches and axes. Melee most of the time is probably not a good idea, because enemies will grab on the player if given the chance and can deal a hefty amount of damage. The later stages of the game will have less, if not any, hiding places at all. The health stats, the stamina, weapons, damage, crits, accuracy, and even ammo amount is part of a stat system or RPG element that's in the game that players will have to upgrade in order to improve their overall character performance. This will give the players options and variety in what they want to do to be their greatest strength in the game, and never will be more overpowered than the enemy. Smashable objects such as pots and boxes, hidden compartments, are how players find ammo in the game, along with secret keys to open locks in the safe haven ward to obtain extra goodies to aid. There are plenty of things lying around, yet they are limited, so using them wisely is the key to survival. There will be times when not having enough or not being conservative enough will get you killed. The controls are clunky at times, reminded me of an old school Resident Evil, and took a bit of time to get used to. Of course, once one gets used to it, everything will be a bit more smooth. The mouse acceleration during the screen needs to be patched, and hopefully we'll see one, but aside from that, the game interface is clean. Players can set weapons and items to 4 keys on the keyboard at a time, otherwise there will be a radio menu which can be pulled up that slows down time during the game switch out. After finishing the game, what's the replayability? There is no multiplayer of any kind for the game. Players are able to replay the game in the hardest difficulty, which is unlocked, either in Nightmare mode or Akumu mode, where Akumu is the one-shot death mode. You'll have to play the game without getting touched at all or you'll die, which is really hard, and it's really fun. There is also a new game plus after beating the game. My opinion about the game, guys, you know, the thing is, I had fun with this game. I know there will be a handful of people who will enjoy this type of game, also from their own perspective. All negative aside, this was a decently made game that was immersive, atmospheric, gore-filled horror, and if anything, more horror action survival than a run-around screaming type of game. And the thing is that one person's scare factor is different from another, so some people might be scared of something, another person might find it scary also, but in their own way. For me, it was adrenaline pumping. Every time I'm scared, I'm grabbing ammo, I'm shooting things here and there. The negative reviews for this game did no justice, especially for the PC version of the game, where people are constantly bashing it for its aspect ratio, FPS, or its port. The thing I want to say is that the top reviews for this game right now, and the negatives, are completely consistent of bashing the game for its aspect ratio and FPS and for port. Now, if Bethesda releases a patch for this and fixes some of the problems, I would doubt that they would even change their recommendation due to so many people following along with it and that they're getting the attention for it. The only thing I would agree with those players is that not buying the game for $60. But of course, I haven't paid $60 for a PC game for the last 5 years. There are tons of outlets and retailers out there that are legitimate businesses, such as Green Man Gaming, that offers coupons, and players to buy Steam versions of the game for $35 or less. So the price complaint about the games being $60 shouldn't even be in the review in the first place when reviewing a video game. This game is getting positive feedbacks about the game itself from all over. Players, YouTubers, gamers, reviewers, everybody's throwing good things about this game. You can do your own research, see for yourself, the evidence is there. Even the positives are now rising up above the negative. So, what can I say? I find the game really fun and enjoyable and not a piece of trash people are making it out to be. Anyways, don't take my opinion to heart, don't take negative reviews to heart, make your own opinion. The game is what it is, enjoy the game if you want to. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching and game on. Gamers, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Rise, Son of Rome.